Is Freya the woman arranged by his grandfather? She better not be an ugly and fat woman, Connor thought as he stepped into the elevator. Lost in his thoughts, he was suddenly surrounded by a dozen security guards as the elevator doors opened. From the crowd emerged the black-stockinged beauty, Moore, who shouted for the guards to catch the pervert. The front desk beauty also joined in, accusing Connor of being merely a delivery man trying to take advantage of this situation. Connor was infuriated by these words. He detested it when people brought up his poverty. Despite Moore's insistence that he kneel and kowtow 10 times, he remained unmoved. While he was unsure how to defuse the situation, Max suddenly appeared and ordered everyone to disperse. Everyone was stunned, wondering why the general manager would defend a mere delivery boy. Max walked up to Connor and angrily shouted at the front desk beauty, telling her she didn't need to come to work tomorrow. Then he turned to Connor, bowed, and asked, "Chairman, are you okay?" Hearing this, everyone was stunned. This poor boy was actually the chairman? Trembling with fear, Moore walked up to Connor, pushed away the snowy white chest in front of her, and bowed to apologize. Connor swallowed his saliva and thought, "This is really good stuff, much hotter than schoolgirls." He couldn't wait to take the beautiful woman in black stockings to bed right away. Moore had worked hard to become a department manager and was unwilling to lose her job like this. She said she could accept any punishment. Connor tried hard to suppress his inner desire and coldly said, "Then you'll start working as a cleaner tomorrow." Moore was puzzled. Her good figure didn't even tempt Connor, so she nodded and agreed to work as a cleaner tomorrow. Leaving the Empire building, Connor rushed to the bank eagerly. He wanted to verify if the black card in his hand could be used for consumption. Earlier, General Manager Max had told him that the black card had no credit limit and could be used freely. Dressed as a delivery man, he arrived at the counter. The counter girl looked at his poor appearance and told him rudely to go to the counter to withdraw money and not bother her. Connor was instantly furious and shouted inside, "Get the branch manager out here." Hearing the commotion, the manager quickly ran out. Seeing Connor's appearance, his face darkened, and he told him to leave and not cause trouble. Connor sneered and said he wanted to withdraw $5 million. The manager immediately changed his attitude and respectfully invited Connor to wait in the VIP room. After a while, Connor came out carrying a sack of cash. The manager followed him behind with a fawning expression on his face. Leaving the bank, Connor rode his bike home. At this moment, classmate Dominic called him and asked him to come to the classroom for class. Connor had completely forgotten about it and quickly turned around and rode his bike to school. This class was a finance class, and the teacher was sarcastic and looked down on Connor for delivering takeaway. Therefore, when Connor arrived at the door, the teacher didn't even look at him and asked with a mocking tone what takeaway he brought for his classmates today, causing the whole class to burst into laughter. Connor could only carry the takeaway box into the classroom with a dejected look. Compared to the teacher's humiliation, the scene in the back row was more heartbreaking for Connor. His girlfriend Mandy was sitting with the rich second-generation Brandon, being very intimate. It should be noted that Mandy never sat with him. Obviously, the whole class knew that Mandy had dumped him, and Connor felt very uncomfortable. He understood that Mandy was disgusted with him because he was poor. After class, the class leader invited Connor and everyone to have a meal together, but the classmates looked down on Connor, and the rich second-generation Brandon led the way in humiliating him, asking him to pay for the whole class to eat at a high-end restaurant. Unexpectedly, Connor agreed and suggested splitting the bill with Brandon. Brandon thought that Connor couldn't possibly come up with the money and agreed to it, waiting to see his joke. A while later, they arrived at the famous restaurant Brasserie La Bernardin. Brandon teased and said he wanted to book the VIP box with a minimum spending of $58,000. He thought that Connor wouldn't be able to pay for it. Unexpectedly, Connor directly booked the Supreme box with a minimum spending of $88,000. Brandon panicked. Even though he was a rich second generation, he didn't have that money to pay for it. Inside the box, Connor ordered 10 boxes of Bordeaux red wine, nearly 50,000 yuan. Brandon's face turned even paler, and he spent the entire meal texting to borrow money from someone else. An hour later, everyone had finished eating, and the waiter brought the bill, which came to 140,800 yuan. Everyone was surprised to hear this number and waited to see Connor's joke. Unexpectedly, Connor opened the takeout box, which was full of cash. He paid the bill and left with ease. Brandon looked at the money he borrowed, which was not enough to pay the bill. His girlfriend Mandy felt embarrassed and hid in the restroom. Helpless, Brandon had to call his father for help. His father rushed to the hotel, slapped him in the face, and and scolded him for being a spendthrift. This time, Brandon lost face in front of the whole class. He thought he would be laughing at Connor's joke, but instead, he became the joke himself. Seeing Brandon's expression, Connor was extremely happy and finally vented his anger. After calming down, Connor couldn't help but wonder, would such a huge wealth really just fall into his lap? Was there no conspiracy behind it? Connor had only spent a small amount of money for Anna. How would he handle this huge fortune? Stay tuned for the next episode for an exciting explanation.